time on cue. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday, June 6th, and tonight I'm Jenny Lee, and in the background, that's my ferret machine for the automatic, so I apologize for the instant interruption straight out of the gate. But I'm Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
So tonight, I know we're here on Wednesday. The last time we were here with you was May 22nd. We took a little vacation with everybody else right after the Memorial Day holiday, and we did do some filming in the background of some great surprises we have coming up for you guys. We love coming up with new things to bring you and places to bring you. So that's what we've been focusing a lot of our energy on. But this week, we are going to cover the town board meeting. Did you guys listen as we were supposed to?
I always listen. If I can't be there, I live stream it all the time. I think that's one of the best ideas that the New Direction has done.
So far.
Yeah. And I had what I really liked this time was that it was very long, but I was able to chop it up. So yes. I watched a little bit this time. I watched a little bit more, and then I finished it up. So that was really good.
Remember when people used to say we were too long? Now we take those 3-hour and 30-minute meetings, and we get them down to 1 solid hour for you.
Exactly. Take all the good stuff out.
Exactly.
Get the meat and potatoes.
So it was an interesting evening, 3 hours and 33 minutes, and it seems like the top headliners that we had it really started out with a bunch of people showed up out of nowhere about Green Lawn Water.
Yeah. And somebody was talking about, like, they charge her for 600,000 tons of water or something, and she only uses about, now I was like, what? Who uses water?
Because they're estimating. They're not actually taking her reading.
But who measures, like, how do you do that? We don't use the same, I don't know. I just thought that was very odd. That
I actually have that woman clipped. And it's funny because you didn't know what I was clipping tonight.
No.
Yes, I know, because we were all like, oh, before we got here. So let me go ahead and take you to the woman who spoke about what was going on with her water, with Green Lawn Water, so that we all have a greater understanding of what was happening here.
That's crazy. We thought of the same thing.
That is funny.
My name is Phyllis Austrian. I live on Green Lawn Road. I've been dealing with the Green Lawn Water District for 32 years, and they're very deceptive. They tend to exaggerate, lie, and put up smoke screens whenever they do something for you. When I had my water tested 32 years ago because it had copper in it and was turning everything blue, they sent somebody out who left the faucet running for about 20 minutes before he took a small sample and tested it. I was very suspicious. I took my own sample. I went to a private lab, and it had such a high copper content, plus a whole bunch of other poisonous chemicals, that you couldn't use the water at all. So that's my opinion on that. The Green Lawn Water District last year was asking for $500,000 to do the very same thing they're asking $1 million for this year. What's it going to be next year? $10 million? Enough is enough. I am being fleeced and robbed left and right because I'm a minimal water user. In an entire year, if I use 19,000 gallons, that's a lot. I'm being charged for, I don't know, 60,000 gallons? Because they have a minimum charge per 3 or 4 months, whether you use it or not. You don't recoup anything. Most of the utilities only charge you for what you use. Your electric meter reads what you used, not what they think you might want to use in the future sometime. The water district is the only one that charges me for 15,000 gallons a period, and I use 3. And I can't recoup the money. They gave me a 60% increase in my water rates last year. First it was 50%, and a month later they raised it again. So now I've had a 60% increase in my water bill. What did they do with my money? Put it in their pockets, plant flowers? They certainly didn't do anything to improve the water service. I have a readable meter. They haven't been reading it. They've been estimating it. And they've estimated that I use between 8,000 and 10,000 gallons a month, which is ridiculous. I used 19,000 gallons from January of 17 to January of this year. And that's it. I don't water the weeds in my backyard, and I don't water the weeds in my front yard. So I don't use water in the summer. In the winter, I certainly didn't use 10,000 gallons. And so I really think if you're a minimal user, you're not BAE, you're being fleeced, because there's no refund, there's no carryover. You just pay $16 per quarter, which is $64 a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. That's a big difference than what she actually uses.
How does she know what she uses though?
Your
It'll say.
right, there's a meter reading, something like that.
But that's her own personal meter. If she was correct, right? She said she has her own meter.
Right. Right.
So how do we know that she didn't? People sometimes have to look at the whole picture. I'm not saying she's wrong, but I'm saying how do we know what she's actually? I'm just amazed that people know how much gallons they use. Like,
oh, especially when you have to budget yourself and you're living with,
I guess.
And what brought it on, though, because she wasn't the only speaker. Our friend Jeanette got up there and she was speaking. Something happened. And then finally Chad spoke up and said, listen, you guys need to, take this to the Green Lawn Water Department. But I don't know, the meeting got a little weird. Also, maybe you guys remember this part. It was just weird, like this whole back and forth stuff. Let me bring you this one. Boop.
Number 2.
The town board scheduled this public hearing in relation to the increase in improvement of facilities of the Huntington Sewer District, consisting of the primary digester rehabilitation, including any ancillary or related work required in connection therewith at the maximum cost of $800,000, with $240,000 of such cost to be paid from existing district funds on hand, and the $560,000 balance to be financed by the issuance of bonds of the town. This is by order of the town board, Joanne Ray, town clerk. I have the affidavits of publications and postings in both the Long Islander and the Observer. I also have the affidavit of mailing to each owner of taxable real property in the district.
The affidavits and postings are in order. I'm going to open up public hearing number 2. We'll call on, there's nobody wishing to speak. That concludes public hearing number 2. Please just approach that part. It's on a similar path. What is a digester? What is it? What does the thing do that you're spending $800,000 on? Do you guys know what it is? It's a part of the equipment for the sewer plant. Well, obviously, Mr. Smart, Mr. Cuthbertson. But what does it actually? What is this piece of equipment do? It digests. Mr. Clark, will you answer? Sure. You can approach us.
So this is John Clark. He was appointed to be in charge of the sewage plant. He's also elected to the Green Lawn Water District.
What the sewage treatment plant is a sequential batch reactor. One of the processes is a biological tank known as the digester tank, where all of the biological processes in digesting the bacteria and the waste happens at the back end of our sewage treatment plant. It was put in 2003. It has not been maintained or serviced since that time. And this is basically to clean out the tank and fix any of the cracks or leaks that are in the tank. It is not, but you have to go in and examine the tank to determine if there are any leaks there.
Excuse me, if there's going to be interaction, it's up to the supervisor if he allows that. Otherwise, you have to speak into the mic. Otherwise, it's not being recorded. Thank you.
This happened to be the newest digester that was built. There was an older one, and then there was a more recent one built a number of years ago. Is this the one that you're working on?
The one we're working on is a replacement and a fix of the one installed in 2003. The actual process is the same. It is a refurbishment of that particular tank. The process within that tank is the same as the.
So there's just 2 of these tanks down there, or is there how?
There is a primary tank and there is a backup tank.
Okay.
So during the time we take care of the primary tank, the backup tank would be.
Mr. Bartels, I would just ask that you list all your questions in advance and then have it. This is not like cross-examination or anything. You're welcome. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the reason I showed that interaction is because it's like a free-for-all. There is so much just like carrying on. And have you ever seen that kind of interaction? Like you're not, and they're allowing it.
I have never. I actually thought about that today after I listened to the whole thing throughout the day. I had said to myself, I cannot believe how many people not only went over, but the interaction and the questions and even a town board member who was a little obnoxious.
Well, there was a lot of back and forth.
Yes, a lot of back and forth, and I'd never seen that before, ever.
A lot. Like you're supposed to address the board in the court record. You're not supposed to have these interactions. And what was also interesting, the reason why I pointed out, because we all listened to the whole meeting ourselves, there was a lot of people that got up and spoke about whatever the heck was going on with Green Lawn Water. And Chad said, you need to go to their meeting and talk to them. But the guy that they just elected was there and started answering questions about the sewage plant with Jeff Bartels, but couldn't tell these people what was going on with their water. So I just found that really like weird and just, I don't know, it was really just weird. And I don't feel like they really have full control of these meetings anymore.
I definitely think that the meetings are, in my personal opinion, Chad is just simply too nice. Everybody talked about how Frank was rude and how he was this and he was that, but he kept his meetings in order and they're taking advantage of him. And I cannot stand the back and forth in the dialogue. And I know people may feel Mark as though Mark was rude, but the guy who was asking the question was obnoxious himself. People have to understand that everyone is human. If you people reply based off of what you put out. And then for him to sit up there and say smart, whatever, it's inappropriate. We're handling government business. There should be a protocol. And people need to leave their personal opinions up on the wall, ask your question, and remove yourself. And all this talking back and forth should not have gone on. And I don't think Mr. Clark should have said anything. He wasn't scheduled to speak. Let you ask the question. If he wasn't, what happens if he wasn't there? You wouldn't have the answer. Ask the question, put it in writing, and then get your response.
And that's where the slippery slope begins. Once they did it once, now exactly. And now people are starting to say, well, this is how the town board meetings function.
Yeah, and if you listen, somebody is over talking Chad at one point, and Chad goes, the town attorney rings the bell, and he goes, okay, thank you, you had enough time. And then Chad goes, Chad says, thank you, have enough time. And the person goes, you let other people speak.
Yeah.
And then Chad says, okay, we'll make it quick.
Okay. You want to
No, that's it. Your time has gone and that's it. The problem is sometimes we as people make the politicians the way they are. Because Chad is starting off very nice.
Yeah,
and
but
very
that guy
humble.
was right when he said, you let other people go. He did.
Yeah,
he wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong, but you should have more for me as a person, I go on how much respect you have.
Right.
If you cannot behave yourself as a certain, so if somebody else went streaking in the middle of the meeting, would you do it? No. So,
I would. I would do that.
Of course you would.
I know.
And I would be in the back giggling like, what is going on? But it's not monkey see monkey. It's not. Oh, let me not say monkey. Hold on. It's not. Let me do what everybody else does. You know what I mean? It's let me follow what's right. And if the supervisor says to you, you had enough time, it's common decency just to say, okay, thank you. But when you start that back and forth, and then he starts replying in ways that the community doesn't like, we can't blame him. So now he won't be rude. He won't be, we can't refer him to Frank, because when he started out, he was nice and kind. But if he starts cutting you people off and things don't go your way, you create these monsters.
Absolutely.
Have a little bit of respect, just a little bit. It goes far.
So we had some things come up that we really weren't expecting as well. Like the Airbnb thing. I wasn't expecting that. Somebody's renting in a really, really nice neighborhood, the rooms in their house on B&B for $39
a night.
And so it's becoming a transient home, and right? Like,
I've never heard of this before until today.
Yeah.
I'm hearing about it.
Yeah. I was surprised about that, because usually within these communities, people, like I know on my particular block, if we see anybody that's out of the ordinary, we're all on the phone like, who's that? What we know. So I couldn't imagine people coming in and out. And who stayed, like the lady said, who stays in Huntington for $39 a night?
Exactly. And who's allowing this? The town is allowing this?
Yeah,
safety is allowing this? Who's allowing
it? I don't know. It's a law.
Slippery slope, like you said.
They did this B&B law not that long ago, and now they're starting to see the results of it, I guess. We'd have to look a little further into that one, unless somebody out there knows and they want to go ahead and send us a message, and we'll cover it more. But that was a weird one that we heard about that happened. And another weird one, drones.
Oh my God.
Drones. All these people from not even in this town were on record talking about drones. Yeah. There was from Oyster Bay. There was this guy from Hopwalk. There was all these different guys. I did do a clip. Let me find it real quick. But drones.
I think they all worked on the Oyster Bay project, or they all had a correlation to Oyster Bay.
With Oyster Bay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to show this clip first, because it kind of they had this back and forth thing going on. It was like this one guy walked into a town board meeting and needed an explanation for all of it, but because it supplied so much information about the drones, I decided to go ahead and clip it. So you'll get what I'm saying when you see this. It's
I think I know who you're talking about too.
It was kind of entertaining.
By Kenneth Kramer. That's James Oswald. And Rental Report. That's right. Anyway, based on what I just heard from the prior two speakers, does that mean that this is a done deal with this permit for the drones? Is that correct?
Bueller?
Hearing to listen to the comments. So nothing is a done deal until it gets voted upon. And obviously the town attorney has been taking notes and is going to look at the comments that are made.
What was the catalyst for even allowing use of drones on town property?
I think because it's happening anyway. We're seeing it happen anyway, and this allows us to regulate it when it is happening.
All right, because my concern is that these drones are kind of a slippery slope, where once it's commercial use, then it'll be hobbyists, and then there'll be drones in many places, whether it's parks, beaches, etc., whether it's in the summer or the off season. Is that something that town's considering?
We're concerned about it, right? So if there's a proliferation and there are drones everywhere and it's hurting people's enjoyment of park facilities, it's something we want to be able to regulate and have to say about.
And what about the private concerns?
That's one of the concerns and why we're regulating.
So right now, it's actually putting restrictions on people, allowing them to fly them. They have to go to us and get a permitting process first. So right now, what's the process now if you want to use a drone? Are drones even allowed at the moment, legally?
Well, they're allowed in the airspace, and there are in a lot of spaces because that's regulated by federal law. We're just talking about over certain sections of town property. So they are generally allowed. There are stricter regulations, and I'm not conversant in all of them when it comes to commercial drones. And actually, I think you have to have a pilot's license for some. So there are regulations in place at the federal level that really captures a lot of the regulation in the field. And then these are just specific to town facilities where we're seeing them proliferate, whether it's beaches or fields and things like that, or extra park or things like that.
So when will you decide this?
Well, after the public hearing, we have 90 days to enact.
I see. And I know someone mentioned that Oyster Bay is currently allowing the use. How long have they allowed that for? Do you know?
Well, I haven't personally looked at the Oyster Bay ordinances, but we'll be looking at them. I don't know if the town attorney's office has, but it's not uncommon for us to look at other towns' ordinances to see as a model to see if they're successful or not.
Sure. Yeah. As I
Supervisor, we did look at the Oyster Bay code as a model for ours.
And how's that working out so far? In Oyster Bay, do you know?
Bueller.
Yeah, I mean, a number of gentlemen who just spoke,
right,
who are involved in the industry are relatively pleased with the way the regulations are working out. It seems like it's a fair balance between what they would like to do, which is use drones, and the ability of the town to regulate the use of those drones.
Yeah.
And what we're doing right now, we're just getting public input in terms of fact finding to see, whether or not people support or don't support the legislation and if it needs to be tweaked or not.
Right. I mean, overall, I generally don't support it because I've seen use of drones in many locations, and even with permits, it tends to be an issue where you really invade people's privacy and
Time's up.
public spaces, whether it's beaches, parks, or what have you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
But you're right, Dana. We could probably count them as we're doing it.
And again, Chad has to calm down. That's it.
Yeah.
He's almost seemed as though he was making the questions up as he was going along.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, but you got so much great information because don't you completely understand the whole drone process now?
Yeah, drones everywhere.
What they're doing?
Oh,
I don't know what the hell's going on with drones.
drones are everywhere.
I don't.
And do you have the clip where he says about taking cameras on the beach?
Oh, well,
Mark
wait.
actually said we should rethink that, maybe.
That was the one I was going to do next. Well, it's not really because I mean, I don't know where you guys stand on the drone issue. I'm totally on the fence because, like, it's airspace. It's airspace, and this other guy. He brings up a great point. Let's go ahead and bring him over. He really does bring up a really good point, and he was on the committee too, and he admits that I'm not even from your town. Another one. Where is he? There he is.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Anderson. I live in Syosset. I'm not in your town. But as a number of people here, I was part of the committee that worked with the town of Oyster Bay in the drafting of their law. And they did a very good job of spending time with people who understand the issues. Commercial, I'm here more to talk the recreational side. I'm not a commercial drone user. I'm a recreational model airplane pilot. I have 26 model aircraft, none of which are drones, all of which would fall underneath this law if I lived in your town. The key points that I wanted to touch on so that you can think about them as you're working on and I just learned what the brackets mean. So there's in section 189-10, you make reference to locations of reasonable expectation of privacy. And I like my privacy just as much as anybody else, but that's an absolutely vague and meaningless term. It's a term that's used a lot in the law, a lot. So in search and seizure and warrants and things like that. So it's a term that it probably has as much definition out there as you could expect to have because it's used quite a bit. So let me put a couple of thoughts here. I'm not challenging this on a legal point, but the use of remote control aircraft represents a change in the way people look at this. I can walk out onto a beach any place, anytime with a camera and shoot any pictures of anybody I want. It's a public place. There's no restriction. You don't have the right to restrict it. Okay? Now I have a $40 drone that I picked up at Toys R Us with a camera on it, and I'm flying it 15 feet over my head, taking pictures of the beach. Have I violated your law? Potentially. So how come I can stand on the ground and shoot a picture, but I can't shoot one from 20 feet up? I'm not asking for an answer. More, I'm asking you to consider that point. Don't you think that people have an expectation that if they're sunbathing at a beach, that people are going to be taking pictures of them? There's absolutely no privacy law that I know of that restricts my use of a camera on public beach. Well, maybe there should be. Well, that may be, and it may not. But the fact of the matter is I bring it up not to challenge the law, but to say that you have a vague situation here that potentially is in conflict with normal practice, simply because the camera is now 20 feet up, 50 feet up, 100 feet up. I'm not asking you to resolve it here. I'm asking you to take it into consideration. Similar to the discussion about the permitting and the dates. Thank you. I'll be quick.
No, that's it. Goodbye.
Don't be quick.
I don't know if I'm going to fly until this morning. So 5 days in advance essentially eliminates recreational aviation in the town. Thank you, guys.
See? Another one. But he did, I know he went over on his time, but he raised such a good point he did. And we can't ignore, invalidate that because he also went over, because pretty much everybody did.
Well, Mark interrupted him a little bit too.
That's why we're watching a 3-hour and 30-minute town board meeting.
Mark did interrupt him and took up his time, and he even said, "I don't want an answer." He was trying to get everything he had to say out there.
Yeah, he just wanted to say exactly, and that's another part when the town council members should keep their comments for after the testimony and not interrupt them either, because that develops this huge back and forth. Wait till you see what we got for you on LIPA later, but before that, we this one was just so cute. And it's only a minute, and you know how much I adore him. He's one of my favorite characters in this show called The Town of Huntington.
The Daniel Carpenter Show.
Yes, the Daniel Carpenter Show. He also raised great points.
He does raise great points. He's very smart.
My name is Daniel Carpenter. I reside at 3 Harbor Hill Drive, Huntington, New York. There are a pair of ospreys that have taken up residence in Centerport Harbor, and the ospreys request that their airspace not be interfered with by flying drones. So what you need to do is put in the ordinance a restrictive paragraph that every year the town board will establish a map where over town land drones are not permitted because a pair of bald eagles and their offspring are using the airspace. Any comments, Chad? No, but thank you.
No, but thank you.
I hope the Eagles get their wish granted by this town board so they can fly uninterrupted by drones in their airspace.
You said they were osprey. Are they osprey or
Eagles and osprey. Why don't we include ospreys too?
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
He's the cutest.
That was great.
He's so great, though. Go ahead, Dana.
Gosh, I can't deal with these things sometimes. But I appreciate that he thought about the Eagles or the osprey, whichever one. I don't know what the right name is, but that's important because a lot of us don't think. I don't know. The drone thing is a little bit touchy for me. I would be worried about people. We have a ton of pedophiles that appear to be coming out of nowhere. I wouldn't really want them, videotaping my kid while we're on the beach or something like that.
Yeah, flying over the park.
And I know we have some nude beaches. I don't think, necessarily, women want to have their, things. I mean, when you're in a nude beach, it's a certain amount of, other people are going to be nude, but I don't think people want you snapping pictures of them.
No, like you were about to say, they don't want their things on the internet.
Yeah.
Somebody else having their things in their possession.
I was trying to be diplomatic. I was like, let me just skip that part because I wouldn't want to see that. And then what are you doing with it? Why are you?
Exactly.
I don't know. And then won't it hit birds and other? I don't know. I'm on the fence with it. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the yay or nay on it. I mean,
I'm okay with like spying, but like I could turn around right now. I bet you they got this whole drone thing hanging outside of my window right now. And they do use that for property stuff now and to catch people doing stuff. So there's many, many uses, but the whole thing, I mean, we have to balance out the regulation versus, you know, freedom. You know, that's why the airspace it's free.
Exactly. I don't know how they're gonna regulate that because I think it would be.
Are they gonna have certain regulations, the town versus other people?
And the guy made up a good point. If I could take out my camera and you can't stop me, why can't I do my drone? I mean, when you sit down and you think about these questions, because a camera you just take still pictures. So who you waving to?
Allison, who keeps inboxing me. She's watching us live. She's very sweet. She loves our show. She sends her love.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Allison.
I'm like, who is she waving to?
Oh, well, I just wanted to say hi because, you know, come on. We are doing this for what? For everybody.
No,
right?
I agree, but I thought you were going crazy.
And we got a fan giving us an inbox.
I thought you were waving to a drone outside.
Oh, yeah. No, you know, probably. But they'd get a better shot upstairs at around 10:30.
I'm done. No, I'm done. Had enough of this.
Oh my God.
So are you ready for the drama?
I have a lot to say about that one. So let's bring it because I just thought that was just so ridiculous.
All right. So I've got 3 different clips on this, but we're going to go through them because I'm looking at the time. I think we can get them all in.
Okay.
I'm going to start with what happened in the beginning with Mr. Kehoe, Tom Kehoe. Okay. And then I'm going to take us into a part where I felt explained what we were dealing here with the Iroquois pipeline, the gas line from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to bring it to where the end when they actually vote on it, because it's like a 3-piece drama series, this whole thing. You guys know it is. But before we do that, we shared 2 days ago from Jennifer Thompson. There was an MP3 out there with Mr. Kelly on it. And he was on a local radio show. And he explained, it was an hour long, totally worth a listen. If people want to know a little bit more about what's going on with LIPA, give that a listen. It's a good one to go into. But until then, oh, you know what we forgot to do? Let me show this. Speaking of eagles, I'm just going to circle back real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Those are our little babies. They're all grown
up. Wow.
Look at that.
Fast.
Are they magnificent?
They grew so fast.
They're so beautiful.
They almost look like a little vulture, a baby vulture.
Oh, they do, and they're just so beautiful. All right, let me go back and go ahead and get our videos for us. But yeah, this was definitely a very, very long town board meeting. And they covered a lot of area. But there was also, I think, one of the reasons it dragged was because of all the back and forth that went on. And this one serves as a perfect example of where it really, really got touchy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Supervisor and members of the town board. Thank you for a couple minutes of your time. I'm here today in support of a resolution that I know Councilman Cook is going to introduce sometime today, which had asked the town to retain the law firm of Boyes and Schiller to investigate the LIPA and National Grid situation and the possibility of the town taking that piece of property by eminent domain. We in the town of Huntington, and even more specifically Northport, East Northport, Asher Oak, and the Crab Meadow, have lived under the toxic discharge from the LIPA power plant for many years. In addition, now we, and I'm not just those municipalities and hamlets, but you folks as well, the whole town,
We're facing the ominous specter of a $500 million give back, similar to the Shore and Wading River plant, as well as a greatly reduced annual tax bill that would negatively affect all of our lives, and in many cases, double property taxes over the next 10 years, which would be disastrous to many, many, many people. So what do? Nothing? It brings to mind, and I mentioned this earlier in the day to Councilman Smith when I saw him in his office, there's a great account in the Bible in 2 Kings chapter 7, where the people of Samaria are dying of a famine. And then the famine is so bad that they're eating babies. It's that bad. It's a disastrous famine. And there are 4 men, they happen to be lepers, but they're sitting on the city wall. And the army of Samaria is coming behind them. And they look at one another and say, why do we sit here and die? Why sit we here until we die? That's exactly what the scripture says. We go into Samaria, we're going to either starve to death or they're going to eat us. If we sit on the wall, the army's going to kill us. Let's take some sort of action. They just happened to turn around and head in the direction of the army, and the army fled. I'm asking you folks the same thing. Do you want to be the town board that did nothing other than settle this case? Do you want to be the town board that goes immemorial in the history records of the town of Huntington? I don't think you do, because I know all of you and I know what type of people you are. Do you want to be in the situation where people say, they could have maybe done 1 or 2 more things, they didn't do anything? I'm here to ask you to support Gene's resolution, and this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is a quality of life issue for all of us, our kids, and long after we're dead and gone, our grandkids. I'm here formally on behalf of the village of Northport. The mayor and I have been working with Gene and helping him uncover some of this. And just for the public record, for those of you who don't know, some of the things that he has uncovered and we've uncovered is that and I know most of you folks sitting here on the board know this, the Iroquois pipeline comes in to the power plant. It's the major gas terminus that supplies all of the gas for Long Island, not just to your stove and mine.
There's the bell.
For another 2 or 3 minutes.
There's the bell. Yep, you got it, Dan.
No more, you're going to come off? Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, let me sum up. So, in summation, are you going to do nothing? I don't think you want to be the board that did nothing. I think we should at least leave no stone unturned, and I ask you to support Councilman Cooks. I don't, what are we going to do? Why sit we here until we die? I don't think that should do it.
Mr. Keogh,
yes,
the notion that we're doing and have done nothing is absurd.
Well,
okay. You have your chance.
Yes.
I'd like to address it. Actually, you made some really strong charges. We have worked with the school board and the village when you were on as a trustee, and you've left since, and now you're back, which is great, and kept them in the loop, hired a law firm that specializes in tax certiorari cases. The law firm that Mr. Cook would like to hire has absolutely no experience when it comes to tax certiorari cases that involve power plants. There are serious questions, very serious questions about whether we could ever condemn that power plant, whether it makes economic sense, whether it's legal or not. All of those questions need to be answered before we go and hire a firm that charges $1,300 an hour for their work. So we have engaged for many, many years with the school district on this issue. We have pursued the most logical path, which is to fight this tax certiorari lawsuit, to fight the third-party lawsuit that would throw out the whole lawsuit unto itself. And so the notion that we've done nothing, to me, really is a slap in the face.
Well, I didn't mean
it's just not the case. And the notion that we're going to come up with these crazy ideas at the 11th hour, like a BTU tax or condemning the plant, just provides false hope to your constituents, because it's pie in the sky and it's not going to happen. So instead of saber rattling,
can I answer you for a second?
We should work with our lawyers to pursue a path of litigation and to work with our state delegation, Senator Flanagan and Governor Cuomo, to come up with a realistic solution. Because for me, the only realistic solution here is to get the aid of the governor and the state delegation and come up with some sort of settlement that could be palatable
to the people of this
Mark,
town.
you and I are at the school district. We were both at the school district meeting that Superintendent Banzer had the other night. I saw you sitting there. We said hi to one another. And look, Senator Flanagan and Assembly Ray, Andy Ray is one of my closest friends. His mom's here. She knows that. I mean, their legislation that they're asking a fund to be created, and I think it's a great idea, not only for this, to address this plant, but any other plants in the state is a wonderful idea. But it still has to pass the legislature, still has to be signed and funded. So it's not going to help us now. Stu Besson, who I know is one of your dear friends, and you know he's a good friend of mine. He's also our village attorney, and I know he's represented the town for many years on this. And what I was said before was not saber rattling or to disparage any of you folks. I'm presenting this that I think some new information has come to light. That's all. Let me finish quickly. It's not new information. And our lawyers looked at the Iroquois pipeline, which is another kooky idea that somehow that this is a part of this lawsuit. Well, Mark, it's not. They looked at those issues. First of all, we have a Boys and Schiller.
How do we know he's
for the public record, Boys and Schiller may not be as Councilman Smith said, they're probably the biggest hired gun in America. If they come into situations like this, they do their due diligence, and they're probably the top litigating firm, as you know, in America. So, and respectfully, Mr. McKeel, it's a very specialized area of law. It's all about expert testimony. It's about engineering testimony and how those things go into coming up with a value for a power plant. The person, Boyd Schiller, didn't have the first, nor should what that was about. You hire a specialist. You're hiring a litigator, Mark. You're hiring a litigator, and they're the top. Well, okay, we disagree. Okay, but they happen to be the top litigators or one of the top litigating firms in America. They may not necessarily know much about power plants, but they'll find out pretty quick. Just ask Al Gore. Excuse me? Just ask Al Gore. Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Keel, I'd like to thank you and the mayor, the residents of Northport and the school board. Yes, we've been working hard on this,
and in deference to Mark, who's a friend, and the whole board, and to Frank and your predecessors, I know you've been working hard at this rate use, and that was not so I was not coming in to disparage you or your predecessors or your colleagues. Well, I wanted to go on the record to say that by any stretch of the imagination. But I think some other information has come to light. Maybe you know it, but the public doesn't, and I think it deserves a second look at it. That's all.
Listen, I appreciate you engaging yourself on this issue, but I did want to clarify that this is not a case of doing nothing. This is
okay, and I want to clarify that
it
wasn't disparaging you either.
I appreciate what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
the village board and the school board and the residents. I will be adding this to the agenda. Hopefully the rest of the board will be backing it and we can get this done quickly and do the right thing, because I think there's a huge win here. And Mr. Tufferson, I do appreciate your time and your thoughts. And I know you put a lot of time into this over the years, but I think there's a better way. Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, if I may. Yeah. On this particular issue, the representation that the town has.
Listen to Ed.
Has been adequate. I can tell you I've been practicing lawyer for 21 years, and I know from the speaking to colleagues in the legal world, the town of Huntington has been laughed at for the last 6 years based on the counsel that we put forward to represent us on a hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollar issue that the town is facing. And yes, Boy Schiller is a hired gun, and maybe they've never, as a hired gun, shot a guy with a blue shirt, but they've shot plenty of people with red shirts and polka dot shirts and pink shirts, and now it's just a question of bring up the guys with the blue shirt. These guys would stop talking. These guys, you're doing it. These are the people that should have been hired from day one. Boy Schiller is the real deal. They should have been hired from day one. And I can tell you that the Lifeless Council has been laughing at the town of Huntington for the last 6 years. And the day we hired Boy Schiller, the laughing stops.
Yeah, and we've never heard from anyone, third party or otherwise, that they're laughing at us. We took the time to hire a law firm that makes sense. And I too have been practicing law for quite a bit of time and actually practiced in this area of condemnation
and tax certiorari laws. So I would like to think I understand it as well, and I would like to think again that when you go into this type of situation, you would hire a law firm that has actually had a case and a trial where the issue was the valuation.
It has to be 9 minutes already.
As Mr. Field had said, the idea is to bring on somebody with a new point of view, and I think that's what we do. And I think it's the time to do that, and for the small amount of money. It may be a lot, and it is, but in the long run, if we don't win this lawsuit, all of us end up paying for it dearly over the next 9-10 years. So I think it's worth the trip. I hope the rest of the board will back me, and I do appreciate your comments, Mr. Gupton.
All I know is I don't know what happened now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was eating popcorn, and that's totally not
When Marky Mark was all obnoxious and everything, defending Stewie Besson, his best friend, and Mr. Kehoe, was that his name, Mr. Kehoe? When he was bringing up new information that the public may not know, what did that mean?
I just want to say that I watched that video like 30 times to prepare myself not to laugh when Ed was like, be quiet. I can't believe the interaction.
He goes, shut up.
Yeah,
shut up.
He was like, don't tell me I'll be I was like, what is going on?
Yep. Somebody needed to ring the bell on them. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Official. This is not your home talking to your buddy.
Yeah, you don't give the public that much time. Why are you rambling your mouth off?
Because he was totally defending his best friend.
Oh, right, of course.
So, I mean, not for nothing. There's a lot of people who are going to see our video tomorrow on Facebook Live and are watching now. It's crazy. We get thousands of views on Facebook Live when we replay this, and just a few regulars that watch us here at right now. But they don't know who Stu Besson is. We have to tell them who he is. He was a town council member who was unelected, and then they tried to hire him back for a $50,000 a year no-show job. And he handled the term limits. Remember the original case for term limit? We didn't have term limits because Stu lost the case. You know, I mean, they're talking about right now hiring the best law firm in the nation, because right now we've had Stu Besson.
Yeah, but you're talking about spending $1,600 an hour.
Okay, no. First it's $1,300,
but now when they redid it, it's supposed to be now at 16 something.
But how much is Stu? How much is Stu?
He's not 13.
I would rather our town spend the money and win this lawsuit than all of us having to pay much higher taxes because we lost it.
Well, if we hire a company like that, we're not going to have a town because we have the potential of going bankrupt. I think the estimate was like over a year and 2 months or something like that. Come on. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that we keep Stu Besson, because obviously if you've been working on a case this long and you haven't had any resolution, it doesn't take a rocket science to know we need to replace it. I'm not saying that we should not do that, but $1,300 an hour, and that's the minimum, because I've heard between 13 and 16 is simply too much to
I don't disagree. They should definitely shop around, but I think what they did is they went for the best. And
we should go for the best, but we're in debt already. Mm-hmm. The town's already in debt.
But right now the town is in debt. We're all going to be on the hook soon. It's not just going to be we as the town. You still pay a set amount of taxes. They fluctuate for the most part.
Yeah.
But the bills are it's going to jump. So I need to get Jen Thompson Jen, you're going to come on our show, and you're going to talk with us, because people understand the way that you talk about LIPA. In fact, I wanted to clip her in, but I'm determined to get her on our show. This one was good, the one I'm going to show you, because there's a lot of questions that get answered about the new information.
I'm going to state a few facts, and I just want
That's
to,
Tammy Capel from Kids Plus.
if you would correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm just getting my timer up. Because I want to clarify some things, and if I don't understand them for myself and for the community members, it is my understanding that in compliance with the New York State property tax law, a public utility is required to disclose all of its equipment and assets for the purposes of determining its fair market value and thereby its assessed valuation. Is that correct? Would that be correct? Okay. Long Island Power Authority and National Grid asserts that the plant is valued at $193 million, and that assertion is for the plant itself running at a capacity of 15%. If the plant were running at 100%, it would power not only Long Island, but all of New York State. Therefore, the plant running at 100% capacity must be considered when determining the fair market value and thereby the value assessment. And I don't believe that was done. To continue on Mr. Kehoe's comments about the assets on the plant, on the grounds of the power plant, the revenue generating assets contained on the property. He mentioned the Iroquois pipeline. For those who don't know, provide natural gas to all of Long Island, and it comes from, through Canada, from Iroquois, Canada, under the Long Island Sound and to LIPA. And then the natural gas is outsourced to all of us. That is a revenue generating asset. The fiber optic internet link, FLAG, provides internet to all of Long Island, and that is another revenue generating asset. And then there are a number of cell towers on the grounds, which is another revenue generating asset. If the asserted worth of the plant, as stated by LIPA, is 193 million, then I know that I'm thinking that we should take over that plant because it's obviously worth a lot more money, in the billions. And the, LIPA, Dr. Cordero, a PhD and nuclear physicist with LIPA, stated in January, at the January 24th board meeting, that it was, a star of New York, stellar performance, an amazing capacity. We should never get rid of it. And so if it's worth billions of dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Pell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So,
Mr. Pell, so I can tell you, the Iroquois pipeline comes in there, gets dispersed up until to Comac, where it's dispersed all over Long Island.
Okay.
If that gets put back into Long Island Sound and goes down to Hunts Point, supplies gas to Hunts Point, and then gets piped across the water to the Bronx and pipes gas to the Bronx.
And do you know how much money that equates to?
I don't know.
All right. And just, with regard to the assessed valuation of the plant, I don't know if this has all come into light since 2010 when this all started, but it needs to be reassessed. And whoever can do that, whichever attorney, if the current attorney, Stu Besson, can do that, someone needs to do that because they're worth a lot more than they say they're worth.
Stu Besson is not the condemnation attorney. He only works on the third-party lawsuit that we have with the school district that says essentially that an agreement that was made by Mr. Kessel should bind LIPA and all the entities in the future that they would not challenge taxes.
Okay.
So he's not a part of a condemnation lawsuit. We have specialized condemnation attorneys who are handling this and have been handling it for years. And I've looked at things like the Iroquois pipeline, which don't add anything to this lawsuit. So I don't want you to buy snake oil, right? The idea that the Iroquois pipeline, fiber optics are changing this lawsuit is nonsense. And we don't want to mislead the public about that.
Okay.
If it were an avenue worth pursuing, we would pursue it. And gladly, anything that helps the lawsuit, we should pursue and make it a part of it. But this notion flying out there in the ether that fiber optics or natural gas pipelines are helping our cause is just not true.
So just a question about that.
There we go.
Aren't they revenue generating assets that would be calculated into the value of the entire plant? That's what I'm having a hard time understanding. The assessed valuation.
I don't think that because that's in public, the cases in litigation.
But I also think, and we can do this apart from that, I think there are legal answers to the question about the assessment of those two types of entities, and that they can't be a part of this and wouldn't be add anything to the law.
Okay, thank you.
Jenny, I know you clipped the resolution. We really need to show that part when they brought it up to if they were going to pass it or not.
Well, we can go overtime. We don't have a bill. It's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
We don't have a bell. We have popcorn. It's getting really good.
They might start dinging
The
us.
best part is coming up. I think I have that clip last. That's the best one, though. This is where the serious drama takes place. So I just go right into it?
Yes, I'm waiting.
All right.
I'm watching it again.
Here, you want some?
Yeah, let me get a few. Got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me find that one real quick. All right.
Before you click it.
Go.
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
No. Go.
You got popcorn? Do you know what I had a thought of doing? And I'm sure most people would have thought I was crazy. But when the one gentleman started to talk about 5G and he pulled up the little underpants for the men to save their package with the lead lined and whatever lined,
You mean aluminum foil men's drawers?
Yeah. Well, I thought about coming here tonight and covering my bra on the outside with aluminum foil to make a little aluminum foil bra. Because we didn't touch on that, and I wanted to, because that's really serious, and it's.
Oh, I think everybody should
it's getting out of control.
Stop watching the news. Plug your phone in. Watch your town board meetings. They're worth it sometimes. These are your neighbors. You want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Politics are super local. All right, this one, grab your popcorn. You ready?
I'd like to add to the agenda to retain outside counsel, Boyd, Schiller, and Flexner for the litigation for the Long Island Power Authority. I've given everybody the resolutions before, and I believe this is a very needed law firm to hire at this point. Thank you. Second.
Okay, that is the motion to add resolution 266 to the agenda, offered by Councilman Cook, seconded by Councilman. All in favor of adding that resolution to the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. We have two.
On the motion, now we know where everybody stands on Long Island Power Authority. I think it's a good place.
Well, the motion is defeated, 2 ayes, which were Supervisor Lupinacci and Councilwoman Sergel, and 3 noes. No, excuse me, the other way around. The Willow's roll calls. I'm sorry. The 3 noes are Councilman Lupinacci, Supervisor Lupinacci, Councilman Cuthbertson, and Councilwoman Sergel. The 2 ayes were Councilman Cook and Councilman Smith.
I'm going to go on the motion also because I just want to thank Councilman Cook for all the hard work that he's been putting into the LIPA case and the tax surcharge case, and all my colleagues. I mean, we're about almost 7 years into this, and I believe that we as a town need to stand together and, of course, continue to support the Northport East Northport School District, something that we're doing. My comments are going to be brief because we are in litigation, and we are exploring, all avenues to help out, whether it's meeting with the governor's office currently, or making sure that our attorneys are working very hard on this currently too. So, just want to make sure that this is a priority
I think all of us spend several hours a day on this issue, and we're going to work very hard to accomplish and make sure that we beat the LIPA in this and support, our whole town, of course, the Northport East Northport School District.
On the motion, I did listen and I considered and I did share that I could not support this resolution to Councilman Cook, but I also told him that I was very grateful for the time and the passion and the care that he's put into this. We are all struggling with this. We all care deeply about the taxpayers in East Northport, and the whole town. Not all of us can agree on this, but it doesn't mean that we are not vital and that we are not working hard. And I do agree we have to work together.
And, also I just want to say, and, hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake in the outcome of this case. And the town has been fighting vigorously on behalf of the taxpayers. And will continue to use all legal options at our disposal to ensure LIPA and National Grid honor their contractual promises. And I'd like to say that for the money that this law firm would hire is a whole lot less than the hundreds of millions we could potentially lose. We all have worked very hard on this, and there's no doubt that there's an awful lot that has come about by experts, by people that have donated their time, both residents and experts that have given me a lot of information. All of the things that we've spoken about today are things that you can get online and go through that. And I urge all of the residents to go out and take a look online and see what that plant actually does. That is not a power plant, it's a power hub. And I think we're making a huge mistake not hiring Boyes and Schiller for this this part of the law defense.
If spending $1,550 an hour on a lawyer were a silver bullet that actually would achieve something here, I would do it. But I don't believe that hiring Boyes Schiller is the right move at this point. They have absolutely no experience with power plant condemnation. And I also believe that these misguided attempts to incorporate other aspects into this valuation process just aren't there is a red herring, and it's unfair to the public. So to say things like fiber optic cables and Iroquois pipeline things are going to have anything to do with the outcome of this lawsuit is wrong. And you've been getting advice, respectfully, Councilman Cook, from some very misguided people.
Councilman Cuthbertson, you're wrong. The fact of the matter is that any property that has a building on it would be worth more money. Okay. The fact of the matter that this particular piece of property has huge facilities running through it. It is the largest power plant in the Northeast. Okay. It has the biggest power lines going from Northport to New England to transfer electrical power. These are all things that matter when you're coming up with a number. And in fact, we have information where National Grid believes it's worth between $6 and $12 billion. So the fact of the matter is that by sitting around and not doing anything with this, and this is a very big passion of mine, the fact of the matter is that I think we're losing a huge opportunity, and we're hurting everyone out there by not doing this. And that's my feeling.
Yeah, and I think by flailing at misguided things that aren't going to bring anything to fruition, it hurts us. And I think if you looked at, and the town attorney doesn't want us to discuss the specifics of it, but the issues that you've raised about fiber optics and natural gas and what they add to this thing have been addressed by our attorneys, and they've told us flatly it does nothing for the lawsuit.
Councilman Cook, I've been here for a little over 5.5 months now, and I would not characterize the town as doing nothing, absolutely nothing. But you've been around a lot longer than I are. Are you suggesting that we've done nothing for all the years you're here?
I am not suggesting we've done nothing at all. But what I'm saying is that we are missing a huge opportunity to bring a law firm on that can help us win this lawsuit and actually probably bring more tax revenue to this town. And I just want to speak that, this is one of the very many prominent Manhattan firms or international firms that I don't know, as we march forward, we're always speaking to the other side to see if there's some kind of resolution, but we're not going to probably achieve a resolution that's going to be beneficial to the taxpayers of the town, to our students. And so we're prepared to take this case to trial. But to single out this law firm at $1,600 an hour, it's going to probably cost on the outside about $1 million that we can't bond for, that we have to dip into our reserves for. I think that if we're going to look at Boyes or that we should look at other prominent litigators that might be able to give us a better rate than $1,600 an hour. And sometimes when a prominent law firm looks at a municipality, they look at it as deep pockets, saying, yeah, they'll have plenty of money. They could always borrow the money. And that's dangerous sometimes when they look at it as a cash cow too. In addition to that, I first heard about this case back in 2010 when I was in the school board in South Huntington. That's when the first time this litigation came about. So I knew it was a grave concern for East Northport residents because of the effects that the LIPA plant pays to their tax revenue and such. So we're going to keep on fighting, and I think we have to look at all facets. That's why I'm thanking Councilman Cook for all the work that you're doing. So whether or not we look at it as a power hub or see what other type of energy systems are there, I mean, this is kind of, we have to use outside the box thinking, and we have to make sure that no leaf is unturned.
But I would just say it's no accident that we came to Boyd Schiller, right? The same individual who's been giving Councilman Cook misguided advice about how this lawsuit should go, who's a layperson, is conversant with this law firm because they were involved in a large lawsuit with them. That's how we came to Boyd Schiller, because this person is enamored with them. We didn't look around to see if there were better tax certiorari law firms. We just came to another misguided conclusion.
That is absolutely wrong. A month ago, we hired another firm that nobody in this town board even interviewed, okay, including the town attorney. So I brought these people in to interview them. You walked out on the interview, Mr. Jefferson. You didn't even want to listen to them. So this comes down onto your shoulders. The fact of the matter is, that's exactly what this is about. Right now, just like one person. I'm glad you did. After we signed it or before? The fact of the matter is that, Mr. Cuthbertson, you have the opportunity here to really show the people that you want to work hard for them and look out for them. And I believe there are things that you don't even know this, because when I brought up flag 1 on Atlantic Line, you knew nothing about it. I asked you straight to your face, and you knew nothing about it.
Yeah, and I said, Councilman Cook, great. If it adds anything to it, put it to our lawyers. They said it didn't. But this is about pinning the blame. We all know this is not a great situation to be in. And this is all about finding ways that I can pin blame. I'm going to put votes up, and you're not going to vote for it, so you don't care about fighting the LIPA lawsuit. Yeah, I didn't interrupt you. Stop me, right? We wouldn't hire your flamethrower law firm, whatever that is, because this is about that exercise, pinning blame, because I won't agree with you, because we've come up with a course of action, we've followed it, we've tried to bring it down the right path, but now everyone's freaking out at the end here, and we want to change course, and I don't think that's good for the town, and I don't think it's responsible.
And that's understandable, and I thank you for being, straight up with it. I disagree with you, and I think now is the time where we need some heavy hitters to come in and take care of this and get it done. Mr. Cuthbertson, I wasn't here at the time, but can you refresh our recollection how we got Stu Bethman as our counsel?
Okay, again, Stuart Bethman actually has done a very admirable job. If you ask the town attorney,
I didn't say that.
He was fired. As a person with litigation ability, he handles one limited facet of this, which is the third-party agreement case, which I'm surprised we actually survived the motion.
We know what he does. What was the process?
He was voted upon like any other outside lawyer, Mr. Smith.
Needs to be vetted, I'm sure. Ha, ha, ha. Supervisor? I just want to go forward and just saying that, we have two elements of this case. So the resolution that was just defeated on the motion was the one for the tax certiorari case. The other one that they're referring to the other lawyer for was the third-party beneficiary case. And basically, if we felt that going forward, our current counsel requires additional help, we can always revisit this, and there's a procedure in place for that, and a mechanism for the town to just do that.
Are you done with that popcorn, Jenny? Are we done with that whole bag?
I'm up to vodka. Like, that's just too much.
This might be too much too, but I just want to make a comment because I know we're almost done.
I have to comment too. I have to.
No,
If anybody is, in my opinion, if anybody is laughing at the town board / Huntington, they are laughing at Mr. Mark Cuthbertson. That is my opinion. It doesn't matter who wants to agree with me or not, but they are laughing at him. He also tends to not bring you all the information.
Why do you have such a strong disdain for him? Like, you always target him. What is the problem between you and him? I don't understand. It's always, everything is about Mark. But what is the problem? Like, what did he do to you that you always hit on him constantly?
Well, nothing personal at this point, but the way he just carried on up there, and he's always blaming somebody else, and he's being belligerent to Gene Cook about misinformation. But then Gene always, corrects him. And it's like, well, you did this, Mark. You did that. You did this. But Mark doesn't want to tell anybody that, right? Mark doesn't want to give you all the information.
But this whole thing was really personal for Mark. You could tell by just how he reacted. I mean, we're judging how he reacted, basically.
And most of this is reaction for his little buddy. His attorney buddy, Stu Besson. And if it wasn't for Stu Besson, his best friend, and don't even get me started on how he influences, matrimonial attorneys for him and his friends to get, certain outcomes in their favor, which has something to do with it, Dana. But I don't think this is the venue for that. But that is very personal. Yeah, I don't think if it was for Stu, I don't think he would have behaved like a 5-year-old last night.
I don't think so either. Like when
I
you
think
think
they're
about,
all. I don't think it's just Mark, Gene, and Ed. All three of them carried on like men in the street. They were not conducting themselves like councilmen should. You don't interrupt each other. You don't overtalk each other. And if you can battle, you could duke it out in the back. But in the public eye, you need to maintain a certain type of professionalism.
Well, no, because they're fighting for something. So they're, like you're saying, they're duking it out. Gene's fighting for the LIPA plant. He's pulling no punches, right? Then you have Mark, who's basically fighting for his best friend's job. And he's been doing that for a long time, since I've been watching since 2010, when after Besson was voted out, and then they invited him back and tried to give him a job, which that was kibosh. There was a bunch of people that showed up on public record and said, no, this isn't going to happen. So you have to ask, like, if this is the most sensitive thing that we're all going to be held liable, and the best attorney you can come up with is your best friend, then I'm sorry, you didn't shop around either. So they're talking about the price here, but they're just using who they know, because it's always been the good old boys club. So for me, I have to say I have a problem with the way Mark reacted also. From years of watching what happens, he gave so much tonight. He interacted more tonight than I've seen, well, not tonight, yesterday, than I had seen him interact with people in a very, very long time. And went on and on. And it was personal. When Ed jumped in, he jumped in to make a point about Stu. And that's when Mark let it get even more personal. So that tells you there's something there.
When I base my political views, I don't go on what happened in the past. I go on whatever's in front of me. What I will say, I don't go back and say, because to me, that doesn't make sense to me. I need to deal with the situation at hand. What I will say is that Ed Smith, definitely, he just needs to tone how he handles things in public, but he definitely appears to be the one that is going to fight for the town. I don't agree with him bringing in a $1,600 an hour attorney, because if you do that, they will guarantee get paid, but there's no guarantee we will win that case. So now we've already paid them the $1 million, and now we're going to have to go, if we lose, then we're going to have to go back and pay another set of $1 million. That, to me, I need a sure thing. I will say that if once Ed critiques the way he responds, you could shut things down. I'm really having a greater admiration for Mr. Smith, especially since he holds to his guns. The way Mark interacts, for me, if I'm outside looking in, I don't go back what goes over there, what happened last month, or I don't bring personal issues into it. I look at whatever we're looking at that day.
But Dana, we have to, because what we were looking at that day, yesterday, was removing Stu Besson as an attorney and choosing another attorney. And
but if you listen to what the supervisor said, he said, I'm not saying stay with Stu Besson, but I'm not saying go with the $1,600 one either. Let's shop around.
And so, you know what's interesting is the way that you're already framing it is let's stay with what we have.
No.
Okay.
No.
And then the other one comes with the price tag. I have never watched another town board meeting when they hired an attorney where the price became an issue. We don't know what we're paying for any attorney. As it is, we have 36 attorneys on staff. Right. Why are we hiring outside counsel? So there's a whole new slew of issues there. But I have never heard, and he went from $1,300 an hour to, this was marked $1,625 by the end of the meeting. And if you go back,
Chad said the $1,625, but if I remember correctly, it's because that was the initial quote was the 13. I have to go back, but Chad was the one that said 16. And the reason why I think they're focusing on that is because it's not a sure thing. If we pay these people, we're going to be spending millions of dollars.
Well, this is the end. This is the end of this. They want a huge batter up at the end because they feel like, and I'm so, yes, we have to repeat the past because people need to understand that Besson was an ex-councilman. There's a relationship with Mark.
Remove Besson then.
It's not like we have some great attorney that's been representing us this whole time. There are connections to what has already been.
Remove him. I don't think there's going to be backlash. If you've been on this case for how long, you haven't made any great strides, remove him.
But that's why Mark was reacting the way he was. Yes. It was about protecting his friend, and it became personal for him, which is why it dragged out in the way that it did. He was coming from a place of emotion. For him to not get, you know what I mean? Like, we've watched him how often. Usually he's the yawn master and he's bored, but he was so engaged yesterday.
But that's because you know the history or personal history about Stu Besson. Not everybody knows that.
But that's why we're here. That's why we're here to remind.
We don't necessarily care. We know that he hasn't done a good job. Bye. That's it. How long? I don't care what he did. I don't care if he.
But now you know why, because it comes down to a certain type of nepotism.
Oh, well, we know of that. We don't need to see this. We know that. We don't need this to know that. We know that. But my attitude is he's been there for how long? He hasn't done what the public wanted. I don't need to know what he did 10 years ago because obviously it didn't work. We're still here. Get rid of him and let's shop around and see who we can do. That's it.
Right. I don't think we were given the best representation that we could have looked for originally. And
not
it's
if we still deal with it.
And it's crazy that even, and Mark tried to minimize his involvement. I encourage our viewers to Google the name Besson and Lipa. His name's all over the paperwork. So it's not like he's just handling a certain aspects of it. He's been on it for quite a while. But we are way over our time limit. I want to give Lisa had a special request in the beginning, so we're going to make sure that we wrap it up with you because this is a very important aspect for half the population on Long Island, if not in the entire United States.
Right. Coming this Saturday, June 9th, it is the 15th year anniversary for the Long Island 2-day breast cancer walk. It takes place out east in Shirley at Smith Point Park.
Show me your hat. Show me your hat.
Oh, my hat. This is my survivor hat. Fight like a girl. It was a gift tonight. I absolutely love it. I'm a 15-year survivor this month, which, I cannot talk about it or even say it without my eyes welling up. It's automatic. I can't control it. I'm sorry. But I did the very first walk for the Long Island 2-day, and I did the first several. Then with some physical issues, my body completely wouldn't let me do it. But I'm back this year, and I'm walking with the other survivors. So I'm very happy about that. If you want to learn about the walk, go to li2day.org and check it out. Donate to the cause if you want. It's a great cause. whatever money is raised here on Long Island stays here on Long Island. That's really important to know. It's really important to know. They do so much. They do so much advocacy, and they help so many people on Long Island who need help. People who don't have insurance, people who need mammograms, or just education. They help with so much. They're awesome. Thanks.
No, of course. Absolutely. So, okay, we're going to be coming back to you guys every Tuesday until summer. We're going to have some other stuff coming on, and we're going to take a couple breaks here and there, but trust me, we know what's going on behind the scenes, and you guys are just going to want to stay tuned because we got some really good stuff going on. So does anyone have any final thoughts?
No. That was enough. No.
Okay, so I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. We'll see you next Tuesday, and have a good evening, everyone.
Good night,
guys.
Good night.